I won't go into the details, but you get the drill. 1793, French Revolution, big heavy knife on a stick, and oh, look at that. That one. That one. What? There's like no more head on the body. But could a head survive on its own? The French Revolution and the following decades were a really productive time for the guillotine, with, fun fact, the last execution by guillotine happening in September of 1977, with Hamida Jandoubi getting the chop 4 months after Star Wars came out, so vive la rebellion on that one. And as more people kept getting the chop, the question kept being asked if those heads knew what was going on. Were they conscious?
To overlook one
Gonna cry?
piece of information.
Gonna piss your pants,
Hello.
And the answer was, some amateur researchers tried yelling at them to see if they'd like flinch or stuff, but I don't have to tell you that didn't work. But it did inspire some scientists to experiment with seeing if they could make the Hall of Presidents a real thing. 1812, this guy called Julien Jean César Lecroix speculated that if you injected blood back into a head, you could resurrect it. This was his sketchbook, by the way. Look at the size of his hands. Though it wasn't until 1857 when a guy called Charles Edouard Brown-Séquard actually gave it a go, giving the dog the old chop, draining it, then injecting it with the fresh stuff. Apparently its jaw snapped shut, it blinked twice, shouted "Beware apple," and then crumbled into dust. Head research continued with this guy called Dr. Jean-Baptiste Vincent Laborde. And fun fact, Laborde was a member of a colourful group of fellas known as the Society for Mutual Autopsy, who would just sit around and wait for each other to die before dissecting each other's brains. Laborde's brain in particular stirred up quite the controversy by the time he kicked it. When they removed his brain to weigh it, they found that it only weighed 1,234 grams, with the average weight being 1,360. Was he really as smart as they all thought he was? Thankfully today, we know that adult brain weight generally doesn't correlate with intelligence.
What the heck is this thing?
But to preserve his reputation, his friends at the club began a massive spin campaign of insisting that his brain had shriveled up on account of his old age rather than any other malicious factors. But long before his grey got weighed, Laborde did that thing that the second outrageously named French dude did on a dog, on a person. The experiment was to be done on a convicted murderer in an attempt to not generate too much moral outrage, called Campy, and I genuinely cannot find any other name for this guy, because French newspapers at the time tended to refer to criminals as if they were celebrities by single names like Eminem or Cher. But it didn't really work, blaming the fact that it took an hour for his noggin to reach the lab. Not to be deterred, he tried again on a guy called Gagny, whose head he only got 7 minutes after execution. By the 18-minute mark, he connected it to the artery of a still living dog, which I don't know how you do, but here's my artistic rendition. Apparently the facial muscles contracted and the jaw snapped shut, but no signs of consciousness, so thank Christ. After Laborde, a handful of doctors tried to pursue similar research, but with no real breakthrough till the 20s. And it happened to be in that country that was chronically obsessed with sharing. He was called Brukhonenko, and he managed to keep a dog head alive for 3 hours without a body, which is horrifying. And what was the difference? Well, he used a heart-lung machine, which oxygenates and pumps the blood around the body, and some anticoagulants to stop the blood from blocking the tubes. He demonstrated one of these heads to an audience of psychologists in 1928, where it flinched at loud noises, contracted its pupils when lights were shone at it, and even swallowed a piece of cheese, which promptly popped out the other end. This became big news all over Europe, with people both hyped
Come on, baby! Come on!
and horrified. This may be happening to them someday. This playwright at the time called G.B. Shaw even wrote a letter to Brukhonenko asking if he could have it done to him at some point so he could live on as a head and just write plays. Thankfully no records show that Brukhonenko tried this on people at all, but this is the Soviets in the 1930s, so it isn't completely outside the realm of possibility. Who knows? Maybe there's a timeline not too far from our own where this is just the norm for some people.
Okay, thank you. Bye.